In this daily drop, I'm going to do a brief introduction to the Epos 300 light from Kelvin, and more specifically talk about their diffusion accessories. So let's go. Okay, here we are with the last episode of the week. I think this is episode number 65. And what I wanted to do, 65, that's the white point for most monitor systems. So maybe D65, so maybe it's appropriate. But what I wanted to do was talk about very briefly what this fixture is, and then talk about these accessories that I have in front of me. Now, Kelvin is a company that's based out of Oslo, Norway. These lights are designed and made there, so they're not made outside of Norway. They are actually manufactured there. And Rift Labs, which is the company behind Kelvin Light, is a company that has been making light fixtures and lighting technology solutions for a very long time. I have a long history with them. In fact, they did a little light many moons ago that attached to an iPhone, and it was called the Kick. I still have them somewhere. And my, oh my, have they come a long way when it comes to their LED technology and what they're doing. They are smart people over there. In fact, another part of Rift Labs is a company called Luxley, and those lights I have used for many years, but this is a very different class of light. And what we're looking at here is a chip-on-board light that is based on RGBACL, so red, green, blue, amber, cyan, lime. And we don't see this in a lot of COB technology. There are a couple of other manufacturers who are using RGBACL. Two examples are ProLight, which is now becoming part of Aperture. And the other one, which many of you may be familiar with, is the Orbiter from ARRI. Each one of these RGBACL lighting solutions, though, has their own light engine, the thing that drives these LEDs, and Kelvin is no exception. They have their own. I do know that they are very focused on what I'm calling a holistic approach to lighting. That's not what they call it, but it really is more than just the design of the light fixture and the quality of the light, which is probably the most important thing, but it's also the functionality and usability of the whole system and how it works. And there's some pretty cool things inside of here, but let me just say that from the tests that I've done so far, that when I've just taken the light and turned it on and done some readings with a color meter, when we're talking about correlated color temperature and you set it to 3200 Kelvin or 5600 Kelvin, it is so dang close, it is scary. And I'll put it in the description. There's an article, it's really a review that is incredibly in-depth on this light by Matt Allard at Newsshooter. So if you want to get into the metrics and you want to get into all of the geeky stuff on the light fixture, that's a great place to go. But, you know, they've designed a great app. It's called the Kelvin Navigator, which I have up here, which is going to let me control this. It's very simple. It kind of reminds me of how ARRI allows you to control their camera systems. It's not overthunk, if that's a word. It's really streamlined to get you to what you need to do with the fixture, the way you want to use that fixture. So I'm very impressed with the light. It's not a review. I'm just kind of giving you my initial reactions to it. But one of the things that is very unique about this is the diffusion system. So what I have in front of me here is I have a light diffuser here. There is what I would consider sort of the default, which is a medium. Then there's a heavy diffusion where you can basically not really see anything through it. And then one of the coolest ones, which is this dome diffuser. So that's obviously going to spread the light out more. And you're generally not going to use the light open face. That wouldn't be the normal way that I would expect somebody to use the fixture. technically, when you use it open-faced, especially with things like these reflectors, you're going to get the most light output out of the fixture, but it's probably not how you're going to use it. Because remember, you've got red, green, blue, amber, cyan, lime. When that projected light hits something, especially if there's something close to a wall, then you're going to get multiple shadows and also, more importantly, lots of color. So diffusion is very important in that situation. So to me, the light one is really designed to just take the edge off. Now, we're not going to get a really accurate idea of what these diffusions are doing. Oh yeah, there's that part. They're magnetic, which is very cool. But at least we can talk about it. So I'm going to turn the light on here. And this would just be to sort of soften out the light in terms of the spread and just make it so that you're not getting, you know, kind of weird color on the edges, the fringing of the light. And then, as I said before, I'm just going to pop this off. We've got the medium one. This is kind of the default one where you're going to see that nice softening and that nice fall off with the light. So this would be the one that I would say would probably live on the Epos 300 most of the time. Heavy obviously is going to let less light through. It's also going to soften the light a little bit more. It's still a point source when we're talking about this. And by the way, I have this light turned down to the absolute minimum that it can be. I'm not going to blast us with all of this light right now. And then this last one, the dome one, this one's really interesting because, you know, it's going to start to throw that light in all directions. And where I really see this being important is when you're taking your fixture and you're putting it into something like a softbox. When you have LED technology, especially when you start to get to higher wattage, and they have a 600 watt version of this as well. When you start to put these fixtures into softboxes, LEDs produce a lot of heat. There's a very quiet fan system in here. It can run it high, but it's very quiet. But you still generally, when you get to the higher wattage fixtures and you put them into a softbox, you don't want to have a baffle. You don't want to have a break that's too close to the emitter over here from the COB. So these dome and flat diffusers make a lot of sense in that situation. And this one, for me, inside of a softbox, is because it's spreading the light, really going to help minimize that hot spot that you might get if you were just going straight to the front diffusion on the light. So I think this is very, very cool. I'd be inclined to use either the medium or the heavy if I wanted to have a little bit more output, more directional light from it. But I think this dome is very cool. And if you think about using this diffusion system, one of the things that's nice about it is, let's say you set up a 4x4 or a 6x6 frame, and you had a half grid cloth, or you had magic cloth, or you had, you know, a one-stop diffusion, a silk in front of it. Well, let's say you set it up and, let's just say you set it up with the medium and you felt like it was just a little bit not quite there. You know, you back it off, you fill the frame, but you want to cut the light a little bit more. You want to get a little bit more light out of it. And you obviously can adjust intensity to do that. But what the diffusers are doing is they're breaking that light a little bit, and they're giving another level of diffusion. So you might want to go to a light if you want to just let a little bit more of that light to go through there. Maybe you're going to go to a heavy, probably not the dome going through a square frame, but possibly. You have to test it out. But of course, that light's now going to spread more, and you're going to have to flag it, so on and so forth. But I think this is a pretty cool system and pretty unique to Kelvin. So good stuff. I like what they're doing. These These diffusers are, yeah, they're pretty cool. All right, don't forget to, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Daily Drop.